probably going to be a little more information than you want to hear, but I have actually had a pretty severe cold 3 or 4 days. No worry, I've been tested, everything's okay. I'm lying in bed Sunday night at 10 o'clock. Still pretty sick. I get a call from Secretary Pryor. 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. He says, you know, David, I've been reviewing a few things and I think we're going to be able to help you on this, but a couple of challenges on a couple of other things and we're going to need some assistance from you on these points. Feeling like heck, I get myself out of bed. I speak with Zach, who himself had his own some issues that he was trying to deal with time management-wise. And I would say probably that night, I would think, is probably the night that I finally said, go back to my previous words, we're going to go to Federal Hill. Because I think Sunday night was probably the first time, more than just my optimism, but I actually thought we were going to get it done. And I would say come yesterday, when we were able to flesh out those points from Sunday night, I knew we were going to get it done.
What were those points?
Yeah, some of the negotiations are probably better to be left, but the conclusions were I had to give some, and frankly the state or through Secretary Pryor needed to give a few points, but bottom line is I could live with what I was being asked to do. Obviously the state made that same conclusion about the points they needed to do. Zach was able to be that person in the Secretary's staff to be able to translate between the two decision makers, myself and Secretary Pryor, and we were able to get it done yesterday morning and have it be executed this morning.
Why did it take 9 years to get to that point?
That's a good question.
Sure.
Yeah, just because Dave's not feeling well, and as you may know, I've been around for the 9 years. It's just a matter of, I think David mentioned the moment of everything coming together, that perfect moment with the stars aligning, whether it be the need for housing, whether it be the appetite by the state, whether it be the interest rate environment. A lot of things have to come together to make a project like this work, and it just so happened that we're at a time now where all the stars do align and everything is able to come into motion, whether it be the state's participation, the cities, the market, the demand. So it's really just a function of things coming together, and over the years, certain things fell out.
How do you respond to the view from Brent Smiley as expressed on Joe Camino's TV show last Sunday that it was the posture of your firm that was really holding this up?
Yeah, we have no comment in that regard. I mean, you know, by way of example, if you recall, the State Historic Tax Credit Program was terminated when we first started our pursuit. That was a reason way back then, and by no fault of anybody, just the program had sunsetted. So we'll leave it at that. We're very happy to be here.
Since 2013, when the building went vacant, you made not an insignificant amount of campaign contributions to, I think, every elected official who's here. And
I'm sorry, could you speak just a little louder?
I said since 2013, when the building went vacant, you have made campaign contributions to every elected leader here and their predecessors. Mr. Darrow has two among a lot wider range of contributions. Why did you feel like that was something you should do?
Again, I apologize. I still am not hearing you clearly.
No, I do.
Sorry.
You want me to answer?
Okay, sure.
Their question regarding political contributions, David supports candidates that he appreciates, and you reference mine, as do I. No science behind it.
When is work going to begin on the project?
So as the Secretary mentioned, when we leave this room, we have to finish some processes, but we're hoping to start demolition in the next 5 to 6 months. During that process, so we can keep moving a quick path, we'll continue the other permitting for, as you know, the redevelopment plans are a different set of plans than the demolition plans. So start hopefully demolition in the next 5 to 6 months, and then when we finalize the permitting process, full construction.
And when that'll be open for people to move in?
Approximately 30 months after commencing development.
When you say demolition, are you gutting all of the inside?
Yes, it's a very significant task. It's extraordinary. One, because it's an urban setting, tight buildings, we can't just throw things out the windows, as you can imagine. Actually, all the windows are also being replaced. But it's a very extensive process. We anticipate probably another 6 months of demolition work.
So how realistic is the $220 million for a building of this size?
Good question. We feel pretty confident about it. This is a very, the numbers were trued up and worked on right till the last moment to make sure we weren't impacted by that. It's a natural market, of any real estate development, it's a natural market risk that costs can go up, costs can go down, but we're very confident that we've worked on getting good current numbers and have provided for, the market shifts that could occur.
Sure, can you actually talk about what the vision is for the lower levels? I know that it's gonna be for community retail, office space, but can you talk to me about if that's gonna be a public way on the first floor, or even?
Great question. The vision of that actually is, first off, as you know, with the historic tax credit, federal historic tax credit program, we do have to restore it to its glory, which is amazing. I think all would like to see that happen. So that is going to put some limitations on how and what we can use it for. But it's our intention to integrate some form of community-based program, whether it be event space, as well as take this next time to work on the vision. It will not hold up the project. The project is not stalled until, and actually Commerce did a great job to make sure that work on your vision, but get the rest of it done. So we're going to keep working on developing it, but we definitely are committed to providing some form of community opportunity, because it's so beautiful. It'd be like this room and not being able to come into it. So no specific program yet, though.
And what about those top floors? I'm thinking about the president's office, the old boardroom. Is that going to be, at some point, a nicer apartment, luxury housing? What would that look like?
Currently slated for units. Currently slated for units.
Mayor Loza mentioned that this was part of the puzzle, like Kennedy Plaza being part of that puzzle. What other pieces of this puzzle are there, and what can we expect in the future on this?
So, I mean, this is complex on so many levels. Just pulling the deal together was complicated. So that's one puzzle aspect to it. The other is that Providence downtown is transitioning from, mostly commercial space to more and more residential space. So along with that come all of now it's a residential neighborhood, comes all of the amenities that neighborhoods have. The shops and restaurants, the bars, the nightlife, the active sidewalks, both during the day and during the evening, as well as the public space that people want to enjoy. And Kennedy Plaza is literally the front doorstep of the Superman building. And we want to make sure that, you travel across the country and you see, cities that you fall in love with. They all have this, this magnificent public space that brings everyone together. We don't have that in Providence. We have never had that, a place where, regardless of where you live, everyone feels connected to. But that's the potential that Kennedy Plaza has, and it just works so well as this project gets developed. The various phases of developing Kennedy Plaza also gets developed as well.
So there'll be other things that we'll be seeing in the future here too, like other development?
Yeah, so we've laid out our vision for Kennedy Plaza. Bear in mind there's also a $30 million food hall that's being constructed as we speak, right on the perimeter of Kennedy Plaza. And what we want to have is a dozen or so amenities. So whether you're a young person, elder person, there's a draw and there's something for you at Kennedy Plaza. And I'm sure that as this building gets built out and populated, the folks that are there are going to be a big part of it as well. So this is really something that brings the entire community together. And I'll only be here for another 9 months. Whoever the next administration is in the city, they'll add their own flavor and their own fingerprint to it. But there's nothing but possibilities here.
Pat, last question?
Mr. Sweeter? Yes. Step up to the mic, please. Mr. Sweeter, you run a sophisticated, some would say international real estate management firm. You've got significant access to capital markets. So my question is a two-parter. Number one, why would you take $5 million, say, as just part of it, from the city of Providence, which clearly has financial issues, right? And number two, isn't this really a corporate welfare bailout of a failed investment?
Sure. Yes.
Listen, I can understand perspectives. They differ. At the end of the day, if you remember, the Rebuild Rhode Island program was established as what they refer to as a gap-filling program, as are all these support mechanisms that have come together. At some point, projects don't make economic sense to be done at all, right? And sometimes buildings get torn down. If you recall, right behind the Turk's Head building, there was a building knocked down years ago, beautiful, historic, iconic, and people want it to be restored, but it just didn't make sense. So the decision has been made by a community together to say, we want to restore this property. We understand, fully vetted. The state can tell you at any point in time, they brought in multiple professionals to say, can this be done? And if not, what's the gap That's the premise of the Rebuild Rhode Island program and the various city programs. And when looked at, the negotiation that Secretary Pryor referred to was us getting down to that last dollar. So it would not be accurate or even anywhere near accurate to say that it was corporate welfare, but instead, a community, public-private partnership decision to preserve an iconic structure and provide for the community as a whole.
You say
Thank
community
you.
involvement. Where is the community, these are the usual suspects. Where is the actual community involvement been? Thousands of Rhode Islanders, when weighed in on 38 Studios, when they talked about the stadiums, have voiced vocal opposition to just this very type of check being written to private developers for their own private property. That's a problem.
Again, the programs that were referred to were the tools that were provided, and it's through the elected officials is the answer to your question.
All right, thank you all so much.
Thank you all.